Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into a huge challenge facing India's massive 7,500-kilometer coastline. You know, there's this epic battle brewing between development and nature, especially as sea levels keep climbing. And honestly, there's no place where this fight is more intense, more critical, than in the megacity of Mumbai.
So you see a question like this, could this city be underwater? And it sounds pretty dramatic, right? But here's the thing. For a city like Mumbai, which was literally built on a series of low-lying islands, this is not some far-off sci-fi movie plot. The projections are real, and they show that huge parts of the city are seriously at risk of flooding. This is a very real, very looming reality for millions of people.
12 million. Just let that number sink in. That's the population of Mumbai itself. But here's the part that's absolutely crucial to understand. A UN Habitat report pointed out that over half of those people live in slums. And where are these slums? Well, they're often packed into the most vulnerable, flood-prone areas you can imagine, right along drainage channels and low-lying coastal land. They are, quite literally, on the front lines of climate change. So, to fight back against this rising threat, India has gone all in on a high-stakes battle with the sea. And its weapon of choice? Good old concrete. We're talking massive, and I mean massive, engineering projects. But this whole strategy raises a really uncomfortable question. What if the very walls they're building to protect everyone are actually part of the problem? What if they're creating brand new dangers nobody saw coming?
All right, so let's start with what I'm calling the concrete answer. We're going to look at India's go-to strategy, this huge nationwide push for what engineers call hard armoring. Basically, these are giant projects designed to do one thing: hold back the sea.
And the poster child for this approach, it's got to be the Mumbai Coastal Road Project. I mean, this thing is a truly monumental feat of engineering. Just look at these numbers. Phase 1 is almost 11 kilometers long, built on land that was literally pulled from the sea. Now, the official story is that it's supposed to ease Mumbai's insane traffic, but let's be real, it's also meant to be this colossal seawall, a protective barrier for the whole western coast of the city. So I've used this term hard armoring a couple of times. What is it exactly? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Think of big engineered structures, like seawalls and breakwaters. They're basically walls built along the coast with one job and one job only: to take the hit from the waves, to absorb and deflect all that energy so that the valuable land and the buildings behind them stay safe.
Okay, so that's the concrete approach, but there's a totally different school of thought here, an argument that's really gaining traction. It says that maybe, just maybe, our best defense isn't concrete at all. Maybe it's nature.
And that brings us to this amazing concept called blue carbon ecosystems. Now, what are they? Well, we're talking about coastal habitats, salt marshes, seagrass, and the big one, mangroves. The reason they're called blue carbon is because they are absolute superstars at sucking carbon dioxide out of the air and locking it deep into the coastal soil for hundreds of years. And just how good are they? Get this, 10 times. That's how much more carbon a mangrove forest can stash away compared to a rainforest of the same size. 10 times! It's incredible. They just trap it all in their crazy complex root systems and the mud below, and as long as we leave them alone, it stays there for generations. But you know what? Storing carbon is just the beginning. It's not even their main superpower when it comes to coastal defense. Mangroves are literally a living seawall. Their tangled roots just eat up wave energy, which protects the coast from getting washed away during storms. They're also vital nurseries for fish, which supports the livelihoods of millions. They're so effective, they even protect entire cities, like Kolkata, from getting slammed by cyclones. Okay, so this begs a pretty obvious question, right? If nature's solution is so good, why the obsession with concrete walls? Well, this is where the whole concrete strategy starts to look, well, a little flawed. There's a key idea we need to wrap our heads around here, and it's called maladaptation. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It's when you do something to protect yourself from climate change, say build a giant seawall, but that action actually ends up making you more vulnerable down the road, not less.
And this right here is the perfect example. It's the paradox of the seawall. So you build a wall, and sure, it protects the spot right behind it. But the energy from the waves has to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just disappear. The wall just deflects it, pushing it sideways. And what happens then? You get way more erosion just up or down the coast. You've basically just moved the problem, and in the process, you can make entire beaches just disappear.
Now, you'd think there would be rules against this sort of thing, and there are.
India has these laws called Coastal Regulation Zones, or CRZ. They're meant to prevent exactly this kind of problem by dividing the coast into different zones. You've got CRZ1 for the really sensitive spots like mangroves, where you basically can't build anything, and then CRZ3 for rural areas, setting up no development zones to keep those natural defenses intact.
And look, this isn't just some environmentalist theory. This is a recognized, official problem. You're looking at a quote from India's National Green Tribunal, their top environmental court, and they said it themselves. These hard structures might work for a little while, but they just end up transferring the problem somewhere else. It's a temporary fix, not a solution.
So we have these rules, but are they being followed? Well, not always. The violations can be pretty blatant. In fact, in one of the most dramatic cases you'll ever see, India's Supreme Court ordered the demolition of 4 huge luxury apartment towers in the city of Kochi. Why? Because they were built illegally in a protected coastal zone. Talk about sending a message.
So where does that leave us? If concrete walls can make things worse, and nature's own defenses are being torn down, what's the answer? What does a better future look like?
Well, a lot of experts believe the answer is something called Integrated Coastal Zone Management, or ICZM. It's really about taking a step back and looking at the big picture. Instead of making one-off decisions here and there, it's about creating a single, holistic plan that balances everything: development, the environment, the economy, and gets everyone involved, from the top government officials all the way down to the local fishing villages. And it's not just a vague idea. There's a pretty clear roadmap. Step 1, get a real solid national law in place, not just regulations that can be easily changed. Step 2, build a whole system of management plans, from the national level right down to the local, so everything works together. Step 3, and this is the big one, prioritize soft, nature-based solutions first. And Step 4, use those big concrete walls only as an absolute last resort when you're protecting something truly critical. And you know what? There are some signs of hope, some glimmers that this way of thinking is catching on. Take Mumbai. Yes, it's the same city building that giant coastal road, but it's also starting to pilot nature-based solutions. They're trying out things like bioswales, which are basically these cool vegetated ditches that help absorb floodwater naturally. It's a small step, but it's a start.
So it all comes down to this, really. Will India choose walls or wisdom? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just an engineering problem anymore. It's a choice about the future. Do you double down on concrete walls that look strong but might cause huge problems later? Or do you embrace a different kind of wisdom, one that works with nature to build a future that's actually resilient? For millions of people, and for cities like Mumbai, everything hangs in the balance of that choice.